Quickly before I begin, a couple of you wanted ways to buy some merch with the fake logos I made for the merger video. You can do that now. Stuff's up on my Redbubble page if you want to have a look. And enjoy the video. It's the 22nd of September, 2008. The Crown Palladium, Melbourne. Matthew Richardson sits tense as the Brownlow Medal count draws to a close. He's one vote off 2001 winner Simon Black, with 2 rounds left to count. His round 21 performance was a fine one, and he's a chance to pole in it. Not that Richo thinks so. It's his final chance to get the medal he's waited 280 games for. One that, by all positional rights, he shouldn't have been a chance to get. But an inspired move to the wing has seen the old man play better than he ever has. One vote goes to Daniel Jackson. Roger Hayden manages to sneak in for 2. And then Richo's face drops as his good mate and date for the night, Chris Newman, swoops in for the 3. He'd come so close, but to lose to an out-and-out legend in Simon Black who would win his second Brownlow medal was an honourable loss. It had taken the best centre of the era to beat a knackered 33-year-old centre-half forward a couple of games out from retirement. And then Adam Cooney comes out and wins it. Cooney had been burdened with expectation right from the start. Taken as a number 1 pick by a struggling Bulldogs, he snagged a Rising Star nomination right at the end of the season and managed 4th in the end standings. It wasn't a case of recency bias though, he had a genuinely impressive season pushing off the flank and the wing. His next season had more minutes on the wing, resulting in 12 Brownlow votes, and for good reason. He was a pacey player with a good boot, and used both of these elements of his game to great effect. Averaging nearly 20 touches, a goal and an assist per game, he helped guide the Bulldogs back up the ladder, and similar outputs followed over his next 2 seasons. He was a very good player, but not Brownlow calibre. Despite a slight increase in numbers, his voting power had fallen. His star power was similar to, say, Mitch Duncan or a Dom Sheed. And then he got moved to the centre of the ground for 2008. His first opponents for his new role were, oh boy, Neil Craig era Adelaide. We know how this one goes. Take your 3 Brownlow votes and stop kicking Robert Shirley's face in, please, sir. Also, remember that thing I said about Brad Johnson? Yeah, fun. Cooney goes on a tear. 28 touches and 2 majors against the Saints, 27 and 2 against West Coast, and 5 goals against the Swans all contributed to him being good enough to start ahead of Corey freaking Enright at half-back for the 150th anniversary showcase match. He had a quiet one, so you could see how this would put a line through his run of form. So of course he got best on ground honours in 3 of his next 5 games. He has 29 touches, over a goal, 4 tackles and 5 clearances per game, netting 9 votes. The next 7 games generated some great numbers, but no votes. Normally, this sort of turnaround in polling would be a disaster for a Brownlow hopeful, but something weird happened in 2008 that I've never seen in any other season. After round 12, the votes just stopped. For everyone. All 9 players who entered a vote per round to that point came to an almost complete halt, with Lance Franklin's late season push for 100 goals making him the only player to even get 30% of their votes in the back half of the season. Simon Black, on pace for a mind-blowing 40 votes, scored 3 in the entire rear half of the season to blow his chances. Ablett and Richardson actually led the charge up top despite missing multiple games. Adam Goods ruined his chances in more ways than one by only getting 2 votes in this time and getting suspended, ruling himself ineligible entirely. The top 9 players combined for 141 votes to round 12. In the 10 rounds after that, they combined for 37. The best players in the league averaged 4 votes apiece at the pointy end when things really mattered. But Cooney's numbers in this time were actually pretty good. I would argue the performances in which he earned his 5 votes weren't his best in that span. But those 5 votes scraped him past 2 of the best midfielders to ever play the game and earn the honour of wearing sport's tiniest medal. So it's here that Adam Cooney gets a well-deserved audience applause break for his accomplishment, and well done.
Let's have a pointless round of applause there, can we?
But there's a reason why this video isn't called Big Dick Adam and his first Brownlow win of many, and not just because the YouTube title censors would be on me. No, he's a forgotten champion for a reason. We can name all the Brownlow winning titans of that era: Ablett, Swan, Judd, Cousins, Goods, Bartell, Fife and Watson. Ooh, edgy. All are great players, grand finalists and future Hall of Famers, except Watson.
No one knows what it's like.
But the one everyone leaves out are the one-season wonders: Matt Prittis, Shane Woden, and unfortunately, Adam Cooney. Except he wasn't a one-season wonder. Adam Cooney's 2009 is so statistically similar to his 2008 season that you'd think it's been Xeroxed. Again, he was top 20 in disposals, top 10 in clearances, and top 10 in contested ball. The rest of the field hadn't really closed in on him or surpassed him. And do you want to know how many Brownlow votes this won him? 3. All gobbled up at once in a demolition of Richmond. So, did he even defend his Bulldogs Best and Fairest award? Well, no. But that's because, and here's where it gets a bit damning, he never won the thing. Ever. The telltale sign of an undeserving Brownlow winner is not winning their own Best and Fairest in their coronation year, and Cooney didn't even get particularly close. He was 4 votes away from being the 3rd best midfielder in his team in a year which he was supposed to be the best player in the whole country. And even more damningly, he never managed to hit anywhere near the same polling numbers again, almost as if the umpires collectively realised they'd made a mistake and actively worked to make amends. His 2010 ended early with injury, and even before his 2011 ended in a similar way, his impact was down. He was slower now, and without his pace, he was starting to lose his unique edge. Now he was just another midfielder. He had a resurgence in 2013, but only polled in his final 3 games, and the following season he was a shadow of his former glories. He averaged only 22 touches per game in an era where 30 was the new benchmark, not the 25 he'd won the medal with. His total value above replacement that year? 0.563. You want to know who almost doubled that? Josh Jenkins. And amazingly, in the period where we have stats that can contribute to TVORP, that was his highest output. From 2012 to his retirement, he only produced 1 positive TVORP season. He was almost exactly average. His 2014 was, in the main, even worse. He showed some glimpses of the player that in one fine year tore apart the competition, but it was only fleeting. And so the man who had been judged the best player in the competition 6 years ago was traded to a team that hadn't won a final for a decade in exchange for a man who never played and a mediocre halfback flanker. Cooney struggled at the Bombers in 2015. He was chucked into a floundering forward line under a desperate James Hird, and yes, I said James Hird, and 2015. You know what happens next. Cooney had found himself in the right place at the right time before. Now, as most of Essendon's best 22 found themselves rubbed out for the year, Cooney found himself in the engine room again. This was going to go so well that... Cooney was now playing an outside running role in a team full of half-retired top-up players and literal children, playing as a fast guy when he wasn't that guy anymore. He looked tired, old, a shadow of his former self. He did have one last hurrah though, one final match that showed there was still a glint of Brownlow medalist in him. He won a brilliant midfield battle with Stephen Cornelio, leading the Bombers to victory, or at least he did in an alternate universe where the Bombers could shoot straight, but those performances were in a minority, and Cooney seemed to realise it. And so, just shy of his 31st birthday, he called time after exactly 250 games, his final showing being against his old club, with the game over by quarter time. The former Brownlow medalist, in a season where he was 30 years old, had a T-Vorb of -0.4. Compared to other Brownlow medalists of the era's age 30 seasons that we have data for, oh god, he's not even close. Now, people say that Shane Woewodin is the worst Brownlow winner of the AFL era, and they're right. But he and Cooney share a startling amount of similarities. They both polled 24 votes in their winning year. Both sandwiched said year between single-figure poll seasons. Both retired on a milestone. Both were traded for a loss to a crosstown rival from teams that came close to a flag in their Brownlow year, and both retired before they turned 31. The difference? Adam is with an industry super fund, and no, honestly, the difference is this. Adam had knee surgery at the end of the 2008 season, and he had troubles with that knee for the rest of his career. He was never the same player after this. He lost that bit of verve, that dash, that tenacity that made him a league-breaking player for about 12 months. You want to know why his numbers dipped in 09 and stayed down there for half a decade? It's that. But the difference in the comparisons between him and Woewodin, well, it's really this. Woewodin, the worst Brownlow winner of all, won Melbourne's 2000 Best and Fairest. Cooney wasn't even judged the best player in his position in his team that year. And sure, he followed his medal season up better than Woewodin did, but the fact that he won it so anonymously, in the most lackluster count of the 2000s, whilst playing for perhaps the most anonymous successful team of his era, well, that tells you why he's a forgotten champion.
Jay Bowden, 3 votes. I declare the winner of the 2008 Brownlow Medal, Adam Cooney of the Western Bulldogs.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Before I go, I just want to give a shout out to my members on Patreon. Thank you all, you've been absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much to Cody Bibby, Some Geek from Twitter, to Manuel Cant, Seamus O'Dowd Clancy, Renegar, Nathan Krauseratus, Brian Shadowbuck, and Cyric. Thank you all so much for continuing to help the channel, and we'll be back shortly. I suck at these outros, god damn.